Hi guys, this is a video that will show some hints or starters for the 6.2 on your own problems mild version. So hopefully these can help you get started if you're stuck. So first problem, we're solving each equation for x, we're rounding to 2 decimal places. So first thing we want to do is turn our trig values, I'm going to kind of give the hints for these at the same time. Turn our trig values into decimals. So we're going to use the calculator to turn this into a decimal. And that's the same for the other side. So I'm just going to copy and paste that over there. Okay, so, and remember, to do that on your calculator, you're going to punch in 38 and then hit the cosine button. Punch in 79, then hit the tan button. Okay, for the next part, once you do that, on this side, we want to get rid of that 45. We're currently dividing by 45, so to undo that, we're going to multiply both sides by 45. Okay, so 2 steps for the first one. Turn into a decimal, then multiply. Same idea on this one, except now we have x in the denominator. So there's going to be a little bit of an extra step. But the first thing we want to do is the same. We want to get x out of the denominator, so we're going to do exactly what we did with 45 and multiply both sides by x. Okay, then what that's going to do is it's going to bring x from down here over here. So we're going to have x times this number. Then to get x by itself, you're going to need to divide by whatever this decimal turns out to be. So finally divide by the decimal to get x by itself. Okay, so hopefully that helps you get started on number 1, and you can also check out the try then check problems for examples that are going to be just like these. Okay, let's scroll down. So now we've got a full triangle problem. We're finding the length of the missing side. And let's remind ourselves that our setup here is we want to know which side do we have, which side do we want, and then we're going to use that to pick our trig ratio. Okay, so to figure out our have and our want, we want to label our triangle for our angle, which on this side is 51 and on this side is 35. So let's look at this triangle. I noticed that, let's see, 250 is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90. And then if I find the opposite of 51, I start at 51, go straight across, so x is my opposite for 51. Okay, my have is the 250, so that's the hypotenuse. And my want is x, so that's the opposite. Okay, so now I want to ask myself which trig ratio not ratio involves both the hypotenuse and the opposite. And that's the trig ratio I'm going to use to write my equation. So to answer this question, we're going to reference SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so you're going to look at SOHCAHTOA and decide which trig ratio, sine, cosine, or tangent, involves hypotenuse and opposite. Then you're going to use that trig ratio to write your equation, and your equation is going to look like one of these guys, and then you're going to solve it just like we did up here. Okay. So let's go through the labeling to get started on this one. So hypotenuse, I would start at the 90, go straight across. So the hypotenuse is this empty side. I'm going to write that just so we have it in mind. Then I do the opposite. So I'm at 35, going across the triangle. So the opposite is y, and that leaves 12 to be the adjacent. Okay, so in this case, our half is the 12, so that's the adjacent. And our want is y, which is the opposite. Okay, so now we want to ask ourselves which trig ratio involves both adjacent and opposite. And again, we're going to use SOHCAHTOA to help us answer that question. Okay, and once you have picked either sine, cosine, or tangent, you're going to write your equation. Again, your equation is going to look something like this, and then you're going to solve your equation just like we were doing up here. So use the same hints and process as we did up here to solve your equation. Okay, those are the hints for the mild. Please reach out if you have questions. I hope this helped you guys get started.